Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace, mercy, and the blessings of the Almighty God be upon you all. I would want to welcome you all to the 5th edition of the Pan-African Ahmadiyya Muslim Association Peace Symposium. As Muslims, we will start our proceedings with a recitation from the Holy Quran, and I'll call our brother Mubarak Adelike to do the Arabic recitation and Abdul Ghaffar Adam to do the English translation. Mubarak Adelike.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة والرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمنين المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله عما يشركون. هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May the peace and mercy of God be with you all. The portion of the Holy Quran recited before you was from Surah Al-Hashr, chapter 59, verse 23 to 25. The English translation is as follows. I seek refuge of Allah from Satan the accursed. In the name of Allah, the gracious, ever merciful. He is Allah, and there is no God beside him, the knower of the unseen and the seen. He is the gracious, the merciful. He is Allah, and there is no God beside him. The Sovereign, the Holy One, the source of peace. The bestower of security, the protector, the mighty, the subduer, the exalted. Holy is Allah, far above that which they associate with him. He is Allah, the creator, the maker, the fashioner. His are the most beautiful names. All that is in the heavens and the earth glorifies him. And he is the mighty, the wise. Jazakumullah.
Thank you very much for that beautiful recitation and the English translation. Once again, I would want to welcome you to the fifth edition of the Pan-African Peace Symposium. We will continue our proceedings, and I will now want to introduce to you the dignitaries on the stage. So if you could kindly just raise up your hand so that people identify who you are. We have Mr. Issa Wema, who was the former president of the Pan-African Muslim Association, United Kingdom. Alhaji Lawal Bawa, former chairman of the Ghana Muslim Union. Hazekima Sadala, who is the vice president of the PAAMA, Belgium. Dr. Timothy John Baptist, who is also the director and founder of Time for World Peace. Mr. Umar Safi, who is the director for MTA Africa. Nigel Stewart, the founder and the CEO of the School of Pan-African Thought. Mr. Habib Shafiq, who is the vice president of the PAAMA USA. Mr. Rafiq Hayat, who is the president of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community, United Kingdom. Mr. Tommy Cullen, who is the president of PAAMA UK. Her Royal Majesty, Dr. Na Chochusoyo I, who is the Queen Mother. Dr. Zahid Khan, who is the chairman of the arbitration board of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community, United Kingdom. Jonathan Lord, who is a former MP for Woking. Abdul Ghaffar Abed, who is a senior missionary of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community here in the United Kingdom. And very much right on time, we have the mayor of Merton, who is in the person of Slavik Spansanki, who is here to join us. Diane Vincent, General Secretary of the National Black Police Association. And last but not the least is Joe Sithole, who is the Vice President of the Union Liberian Organization in the United Kingdom. I will now call on the President of the PAAMA UK, in the person of Mr. Tommy Cullen, to give us the welcome address. Mr. Tommy Cullen.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the ever merciful. Honorable guests, distinguished friends of peace, Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. We gather at this iconic Baitul Futur Mosque, bound by a singular and noble pursuit, united by a quest as ancient as time itself, and guided by a theme that has never been more crucial: recognition of the Creator, the pathway to peace. It is a theme that is as urgent as it is vital. In a world troubled by conflict and warfare, by the pursuit of power and materialism, by the cries of injustice and inequality, this profound theme calls us to the fundamental truth that by embracing our relationship with our Creator, we can foster both personal peace and collective unity. As His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmad, the worldwide head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, has reminded us, to establish peace in the world, it is necessary to recognize and fulfill the rights of the Creator, and it is necessary to recognize and fulfill the rights of His creation. This wisdom speaks directly to our mission here today, to understand that peace begins with a spiritual awakening, a return to divine principles which bind us together as one human family. It is the acknowledgement, acceptance, and appreciation of a higher purpose which invites us to live with compassion, humility, and respect for one another, and consequently, to build a world where the divine attributes of justice, mercy, and love form the foundations of our relationships. Recognition of the Creator is more than an idea. It is a reminder that we are all interconnected, woven together by a single thread of divine unity. It is a force which elevates us beyond the narrow confines of self-interest, prejudice, and discrimination, and compels us to see each other as part of a single, universal brotherhood. The beauty and grandeur of creation itself call upon us to recognize the handiwork of our Creator. The verdant landscapes, the flowing rivers, the rising sun, and it is Africa, the land where ancient rivers flow like lifeblood, and the sun shines with eternal promise, that gave us the adage, peace is costly, but it is worth the expense. Africa, the cradle of humanity, the land of endless beauty and boundless hope, the continent of resilience and renewal, stands at the heart of our message here today. Africa, in its vastness and diversity, with its wellspring of cultures, languages, and communities, holds within it the power to become a global beacon of peace. As children of this great land, which has known and is no stranger to conflict and division, but equally has known the strength of endurance and perseverance, we must take up the mantle of peace and strive to become the torchbearers of harmony. From our diverse lands and cultures, let us rise together as Africans and as a global family to exemplify that true peace begins with recognizing our Creator, that justice is born from righteousness, and that true power is found in service. Our purpose is lofty, Our mission is timeless, and our quest is sacred. The path before us is to journey towards peace with every step and every word. We must hold all humanity within a sacred trust and remember that our duty to each other is nothing but an extension of our duty to God. Let us therefore leave this symposium not as separate souls, but as a chorus of hearts united by one Creator, one purpose, and one mission: to be the agents of peace, the bearers of light, and the healers of division. Let this symposium ignite a flame within us to spread love, pursue justice, and forge unity wherever we may be. And let us depart from this symposium with renewed commitment and determination to build a world united under the recognition of our Creator as the ultimate pathway to peace. Thank you and welcome to the Pan-African Peace Symposium 2024. Wassalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tommy Callon, for that welcome address. A lot of you, perhaps today is your first time of joining us at the Pan-African Peace Symposium. Most of you, probably today is your first time of joining us in the mosque here of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. So to give you a glimpse of what the Ahmadiyya Muslim community is all about, and most importantly, the champion of peace, His Holiness, and the work that he's been doing around the world, we'll show you a small video.
Nowadays, when the world again getting divided into blocks, extremism is escalating and the financial and economic situation is worsening. There's an urgent need to end all kinds of hatred and to lay the foundations of peace. This can only be done by respecting all kinds of sentiments of each other. If this is not done properly, honestly, and with virtue, it will escalate into uncontrollable circumstances.
You understand at a profound level that promoting religious freedom is an essential building block for peace and stability here and throughout the world. In this, we are allied with His Holiness, a courageous champion of religious freedom and of peace.
Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad is the present head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, the most dynamic international community within Islam. The community was established by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad in Qadian, a small and remote village in India. He claimed to be the expected reformer of the latter days, the one awaited by all major world religions. Founded in 1889, the community has continued to spread throughout the world, flourishing under caliphate, the system of spiritual leadership established after the demise of the Holy Founder. The current successor of this movement, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, continues the work of the Holy Founder to revive the spiritual and moral state of mankind. The movement embodies the benevolent message of Islam in its pristine purity, a movement that preaches peace, universal brotherhood, and submission to the will of God. His Holiness, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, the present head of the community, continues in his effort to unite people from all faiths and cultures by promoting interfaith dialogue and religious freedom. He has traveled extensively to spread the message of peace and to remind everyone to respect the rights of other human beings. During these tours, His Holiness has met world leaders from the Far East to Europe, from North America to Africa, discussing the economic, social, and political problems facing the world today and how to create peace and justice in the world. He has also met religious and community leaders in order to share common values and core ideals universal to all religions and cultures, with a view to improving the moral state of mankind and creating an atmosphere of love and affection. From young to old, he compassionately listens to the ordinary man, regardless of race, color, or religion. He has personally initiated social projects and schemes to alleviate poverty and human suffering. His concern is not just about the well-being and moral state of the members of the Ahmadiyya community, but of the great human suffering of mankind at large. The Ahmadiyya community knows only that Islam, which is the Islam of love and affection, offers a real message of peace and security.
I respect his strong commitment to promoting peace and understanding. At a time when extremists are seeking to divide us, His Holiness has delivered an inspiring and peaceful message of love, overcoming hatred.
Though of humble beginnings, your leadership has made you a figure of global prominence. You started as a teacher, and you have become a guide for millions of Muslims worldwide. You have been persecuted for your beliefs, jailed for your faith, and exiled from your homeland, but you refuse to turn to bitterness or vengeance, and that is a very important lesson.
So again, what a pleasure it is to welcome you, Your Holiness, to Ottawa, an opportunity to discuss the many challenges facing the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, but also the opportunities that we have to work together on shared goals and challenges.
Together, we should fight common enemies such as illiteracy, disease, hunger, and poverty. The Ahmadiyya mission has put structures in place towards the fight against these common enemies in order to enhance the dignity of man.
An injunction to love all and to hate none is the avowed guiding principle of the Ahmadi life.
The Ahmadiyya community, the mission in Sierra Leone, really they've made a pivotal contribution to the education in our country. You just have to look around wherever you are.
What would the world have been without Ahmadiyya movement? As far as Islam is concerned, it would have left a big gap, a vacuum incalculable for us to even suggest as to the type of impact it would mean on society.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to the guest speakers for tonight. And our first guest speaker is Haji Habib Mohammed Shafiq, a certified life coach specializing in wellness and disaster relief. He is the vice president of the Pan-African Ahmadiyya Muslim Association in the United States of America. Based in Central Florida, he has over 35 years of experience in public administration, social justice, and community service, working with organizations and municipalities. He has received distinguished lifetime achievement awards from the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association and the Elders Association in the United States of America, and has represented the American Ahmadiyya Muslim community globally. We are delighted to have him again at this year's Symposium after flying across the Atlantic Ocean to join us, and we invite him to say some few words. Mr. Habib Shafiq.
To our dear, esteemed guests, respected leaders, and fellow followers of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all. Today we gather as individuals from diverse faiths and cultures and backgrounds, united by our shared humanity. We come together to reaffirm a profound truth, that is the recognition of the Creator is the pathway to peace. We live in a world besieged by conflict, division, and hatred. We must return to the fundamental principles that unites us all: our shared origin, our shared dynasty, our shared destiny. We are all creatures of the same Creator, connected by an invisible divine thread of love. As the Holy Quran reminds us, and among his signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the diversity of your languages and colors. The Bible teaches, love your neighbor as yourself. The Bhagavad Gita says, the one who sees me in all beings and sees me is me. And the African proverb, which states, reminds us that I am because we are. The theme of our symposium, Recognition of Our Creator, Pathway to Peace, is rooted in the noble principle, ladies and gentlemen, of absolute justice. And it promulgates a very powerful but simple idea, and that idea is love for all and hatred for none. This is not a mere slogan, but it is a call to action. It demands that we recognize the inherent equality, dignity, and value of every human being, regardless of their faith, culture, and background. I have witnessed firsthand the transformational power of this love and compassion. In December 1973, at the age of 20 years old, I arrived in a little village in the Punjab called Qadian, quietly suffering from the psychological and emotional trauma from inferiority complexes wrought by the effects of generations of slavery and institutional racism. In the face of this debilitating and wretched adversity, it was love extended to me unconditionally by the people who didn't even know me, nor did they look anything like me. It was love from these simple village members of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community which initiated my healing as a human being. It is this love that unites us, ladies and gentlemen, love that heals us. It is this love which inspires us to become better versions of ourselves. So in short, let us commit today to recognize our shared humanity in the Creator that unites us. Let us recognize to cultivate love, empathy, and understanding towards all, and reject hatred and bigotry and divisions in all of its forms. Recognition of the Creator is not just a theological concept, it is a pathway forward to peace. When we acknowledge our shared origin, we acknowledge our shared responsibility to create a world where love triumphs over hatred. Let us join hands, hearts, and minds to build a world where love is the guiding force, compassion is the driving principle, and peace is the ultimate goal. In conclusion, His Holiness, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih V, the worldwide supreme head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, stated, and I quote, "What I wish to say," he says, "is that merely delivering or listening to a speech or a lecture is not enough and will not lead to peace being established. In fact, he states, key requirements of fulfilling the primary goal is absolute justice and fairness in all matters. The Holy Quran in chapter 4, verse 136 has given us the golden principle of a lesson guiding us about which it states that the means of fulfilling the requirements of justice, even if you have to bear witness and testify against yourself, your parents, your closest relatives, your friends, then you must do so. This is true justice, where personal interest set aside, and where personal interest set aside for the common good. May the Creator of all guide us on this noble journey. May our love for humanity be the beacon that emanates the path forward to peace. Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Habib Sab. We now move on to our next speaker, who is Nigel Stewart. Nigel Stewart is a prominent educator, cultural historian, and a founder director of the School of Pan-African Thought, a London-based organization dedicated to promoting the principles of Pan-Africanism. Nigel's works include organizing educational courses, public discussions, and strategic events that explore critical themes in Pan-Africanism, Pan-African cultural traditions, and in spiritual traditions, and its key issues in facing African diaspora communities, with a focus on intellectual, cultural, and socioeconomic empowerment initiatives. He's a long-standing friend of PAAMA, and we welcome him again to join us and to say some few words. Nigel.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, dignitaries and guests, plus of course our ancestors present with us here this evening. Peace and blessings to you, and I just want to say it's wonderful to be here. This is my third symposium now, and it's a deep honor that I stand before you to offer a few words on the theme, Recognition of the Creator, the Pathway to Peace. And this type of forum and interfaith dialogue is so vital because peace cannot be achieved in isolation. Peace, my brothers and sisters, is a team sport. And I think we can all agree that peace is one thing that we can never have enough of. We could all do with more peace in our lives. Peace is a shared and universal aspiration, of course, but at the same time, it is universally misunderstood. So what is it? What is peace? Is it merely the absence of war and violence, or does it encompass something more profound? Well, we can take some lessons from indigenous African culture, particularly the Yoruba people. As in the Holy Quran, the Yoruba conception of peace is what is termed alafia, and it transcends a simple notion. This simple notion. The Yoruba believe peace signifies well-being, a harmonious balance in all aspects of life, physical, social, psychological, and spiritual. It is not merely the absence of conflict. It is the presence of justice, unity, and harmony. It is the state where all elements from our human relationships to our interactions with the divine are in their rightful place. Peace begins with good character and encompasses virtues like honesty, respect, compassion, and a sense of duty. For the Yoruba, these traits were not merely moral ideals. They are prerequisites to maintaining harmony with oneself and with others. The Yoruba also believe that peace is deeply connected to the non-material world, the metaphysical world. For peace to prevail, there must be unity and harmony between the spiritual forces that shape our existence. This integrated worldview reminds us that peace is much about internal balance as it is about our external relationships. This here is the key. In the Yoruba and all African indigenous cosmologies, the harmony and unity with other human beings is the function of harmony with your Creator and the ancestors. Brothers and sisters, this is African wisdom. This is African thought. It is a holistic and powerful conception of what peace truly means and what it takes to acquire. If you want more peace, commune with God. If you want more peace, commune with your ancestors. If you want more peace, commune with self. And my closing point, what we must also remember is that peace is the architect of prosperity. Peace is what will help to share the prosperity with others of our society who are afflicted and ravaged by the greed and turmoil of men who do not have peace. In other words, peace is essential for social development and equity. We cannot thrive without it. So tonight, let us remember that peace begins with God. If we desire a peace in this world, we must first find peace in our hearts. The Islamic and Yoruba worldview urge us to recognize the source of good is in all spiritual dimensions, and it is there we must return. This is how we strive for a world where every tree provides shelter for the bird, every community uplifts its members, and the balance between physical and spiritual realms is respected. Peace in our actions, decisions, and relationships, a society where alafia, well-being, and harmony can flourish for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nigel. We now move on to our next speaker in the person of Councillor Slawek Sispanki, the Mayor of Merton. Councillor Slawek Sispanki is the first Polish-born individual to hold this position. Elected in May 2024, he has committed to encouraging residents of Merton to pursue their aspirations and contribute positively to the community. His tenure focuses on fundraising for his chosen charities, the University College, London, Hospitals Charity, the Christian Care, which aids those in poverty across various faiths in the borough. I now have the singular honor to call the Mayor of Merton, Slawek Sispanki, to address us.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's my privilege to stand before you as the Mayor of Merton, representing one of the most vibrant communities in the United Kingdom. Tonight, as we come together to celebrate the spirit of community and the values that bind us, I want to reflect on what makes Merton special. Our borough is a shining example of what can be achieved when people from all walks of life come together, united by a shared purpose to create a place where everyone feels welcome, valued, and supported. Diversity is not just a characteristic of Merton, it's one of our greatest strengths. With over 120 languages spoken and cultures from all over the globe, our community is a beautiful example of perspectives and ideas. But diversity alone is not enough. It's the way we embrace it, the way we learn from each other, the way we work together that sets Merton apart. Wherever is through the tireless efforts of our local organizations, communities, the dedication of our volunteers, and contributions of all individuals, that makes the difference. As a mayor, I'm continually inspired by the stories of resilience, kindness, and collaboration that I hear from across the borough. From initiatives that address climate change to those that support mental health and well-being, Merton residents show us time and again what can be achieved when we come together for a common good. Together, we can ensure that Merton remains not just a place where we live, but a place where we belong. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Slawek Sispanki, the Mayor of Merton. We move on to our next speaker in the person of Her Royal Majesty Manye Dr. Na Chocho-Soyo I. Manye Na Chocho-Soyo I holds a degree in law, politics, and international studies, diploma in real estate management, postgraduate degrees in real estate and project management, certificates of qualification in global diplomacy, citizenship, and rule of law, internal displacement, and conflict resolution. Having won the global recognition for her work, teachings, and strategic leadership, business acumen, and the community engagement, Manye Na Chocho-Soyo sits on the panel of the UK's African Diaspora's Malaria Initiative, that is ADMI, and is the president of the National Council of Ghana Unions in the United Kingdom. A Queen Mother from the state in Accra, in the place of Jamestown, who is also a very good friend of our community. I have the singular honor to call on Na Chocho-Soyo I to address us.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. I hope I said that properly. May peace be upon this house. I'd like to first of all greet the leadership of the community and the special guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to first of all bring greetings from His Majesty, the King of the Ga State, King Takite Kuchuru II, and to extend his appreciation, his gratitude, and his joy at having connected with the family, the Ahmadiyya family. He extends his gratitude especially for your warmth and hospitality in hosting him only last week when he visited you here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to be back home, because I call this my home, and to be part of this symposium. When all you have done through your life, to a large extent, is to win, when adversity comes, it has the ability to shake you. And when that happens, we tend to forget how far God has brought us. And this is why today's theme, recognition of the Creator, the pathway to peace, means a lot to me personally. I come from a community of people that I call roots and wings. We're a community tethered and known for being a peaceful people. But we also have wings, because when I look around this room, I see many people from Ghana here. We have wings, the ability to go out, be part of communities that we find ourselves engaged in. And it makes me particularly proud that the Ahmadiyya family encourages unity and to wit peace. I said earlier that when you have won all your life, when adversity comes, it shakes you. Ladies and gentlemen, as we discuss peace today, I'm very conscious of the fact that Ghana is entering a period of elections. Only next month we will be entering our election period. There has been much said, and in my Ga language, we say, "Ekomefe mo nomling hewaleyo," to wit, in togetherness. In togetherness we find unity and strength. And yet we have heard so much happening for a people known for peace. We have heard so much micro conflicts, local conflicts, disagreements based on political affiliations, disagreements based on cultural affiliations. Even within the context of our chieftaincy, there is conflict. And as we enter the period of elections, one of the key messages that I think would resonate with the people is an understanding that when we go to vote, when we go to choose our leadership, we must always bear in mind that fundamental to peace is a recognition that we have to answer to one entity, God the Creator, Allah. When His Majesty was here, one of the key things he took away with him, and I realized when he was speaking, he spoke quite a lot about it, is the slogan of love for all and hatred for none. He made the point that that is a very difficult call to take up. But he also made the point that if you are able to abide by that fundamental principle, you have answered the call of the Almighty and served the purpose for which you have been brought on this earth. As we go to elections, not only do we need to bear in mind the fact that peace happens when we recognize that we have to answer to the Creator, but also fundamentally, we're one people. And you may not necessarily like someone, but you must be able to love them for who they are, for what they are, and as creators of God Almighty. And as far as is practicable and possible, hate no one. Because if we abide by that very principle, I think not only will we achieve peace in Ghana, but we will also achieve peace across the world. I want to thank the Ahmadiyya family. Every time I come here, I feel welcome. I feel embraced, I feel taught, and I learn a lot from you. As I observe the work that Ahmadiyya is doing across the world, work that I know His Majesty is keen to come to the capital, even more so now. I learn the principles, first and foremost, of discipline, of structure, but also for embracing each other in the spirit of peace and unity. And so with that, I thank you. And I say again, Assalamu alaikum, Chano Manyaba.
Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness, Maya Dr. Na Chuchusoyo I. And I move on to our next speaker in the person of Her Excellency, Mrs. Fatou Bensouda. Her Excellency, Mrs. Fatou Bensouda, serves as the Gambian High Commissioner to the United Kingdom. She is a distinguished international lawyer who previously served as a chief prosecutor at the International Criminal Court, where she was recognized for her dedication to international justice and pursuing cases on gender-based crimes, crime against humanity, and genocide. Her career includes roles as Attorney General and the Minister of Justice of the Gambia and legal advisor at the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. Her years of public service highlighted a commitment to justice, diplomacy, and community cohesion. We are delighted to have Her Excellency Mrs. Fatou Bensouda. If I could kindly request her to address us.
Lord Mayor, Mr. President of the Association, members of the High Table, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and honored members of the Ahmadiyya community. It is with great pride and profound respect that I stand before you today to briefly reflect upon the remarkable role of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in spreading peace and promoting harmony particularly in the Gambia. In a world too often marked by division, conflict, and misunderstanding, the example set by your community serves as a beacon of hope and a powerful reminder of the values that unite us all. Your community, founded in 1889 by the Honorable Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, is globally recognized for its commitment to the principles of love for all, hatred for none. These words encapsulate a philosophy rooted in compassion, in service, and the pursuit of justice. And I must say that in the Gambia, the Ahmadiyya community has exemplified these ideals through decades of tireless efforts to foster peace and uplift society. Distinguished guests, I am of the opinion that peace is not merely the absence of conflict, but the active cultivation of understanding, of respect and cooperation. And after years of observation living in the Gambia, I can attest that the Ahmadiyya community has demonstrated and embraced the very ethos by constantly championing interfaith dialogue and building bridges between the diverse religions and cultural groups in the Gambia. Through numerous outreach programs, your community has created safe spaces where differences are not only acknowledged but celebrated. These initiatives have fostered a spirit of mutual respect, laying the groundwork for a society where individuals of all backgrounds can coexist in harmony. Thus, the Ahmadiyya community has contributed to the strengthening of the social fabric of the Gambia, demonstrating that unity in diversity is not just an ideal, but a practical pathway to peace. One of the cornerstones of the Ahmadiyya community work in the Gambia is its unwavering commitment to education. The establishment of schools and educational institutions by the community has transformed countless lives, providing access to quality education for children regardless of their religion or social background. Indeed, this is highly important, and I cannot stress that enough. Because you see, distinguished guests, education is a powerful tool for peace building. It empowers individuals with knowledge and fosters critical thinking and equips communities to address challenges constructively. By investing in education in the Gambia, the Ahmadiyya community is not only nurturing the leaders of tomorrow, but also promoting values of tolerance and understanding that are essential for lasting peace. Furthermore, another significant contribution of the Ahmadiyya community in the Gambia is its dedication to improving healthcare. Through clinics, health campaigns, and charitable initiatives, the community has extended a lifeline of those in need, particularly in underserved regions. Healthcare is not just about treating ailments. It is about affirming the dignity and worth of every human being. By providing medical services without discrimination, the Ahmadiyya community has reinforced the principles of equality and compassion, bringing people together in a shared commitment to human well-being. Distinguished guests, I have been made to understand that central to the Ahmadiyya community's philosophy is the belief that service to humanity is a fundamental expression of faith. And I also understand now that it is this belief that inspires the humanitarian initiatives of your community, ranging from disaster relief efforts to programs addressing poverty and social inequality. I firmly believe that these acts of service do, in fact, have a ripple effect, as it fosters goodwill and strengthens the bonds between the communities us and between communities. It also demonstrates that peace is not achieved through grand declarations, but through consistent, selfless actions that uplift others. To conclude, as I celebrate the contributions of the Ahmadiyya community, I am reminded of our collective responsibility to uphold the values of peace, tolerance, and service. I pray that the world draws inspiration from your community's example and commit ourselves to building a world where love and understanding prevail over hatred and division. Peace is not the work of a single group or individual. It is a shared endeavor that requires the participation of all. Together, we can and must ensure that the seeds of peace sown by the Ahmadiyya community around the world continue to flourish, benefiting generations to come. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, Mrs. Fatou Bensouda, for that brilliant address. Africa is not left out in this Peace Symposium, and I know there's a lot of you on social media, YouTube, and various angles watching the proceedings. And as such, very beautifully, we have a goodwill message from Tanzania, and that is from the Professor Adolphe Mackenzie Waziri, who is the Minister for Education. If we can have that goodwill message, please.
It is an honor to me to have this opportunity to make a brief statement in this Pan-African Peace Symposium. I wish to thank Tom Callon, the president of the Pan-African Ahmadiyya Muslim Association UK, for asking me to make this statement. When I received his invitation, my mind went back with vivid recollection of my visit to the Ahmadiyya headquarters in London, where I met Tommy Callon, among others. I remember fondly the very welcoming environment we encountered, the generosity of the Ahmadiyya leadership to me and my delegation, and the beauty of the buildings, particularly the amazing mosque, built as the largest in Europe. I wish to once again thank the Ahmadiyya leadership for that wonderful visit. Today, I wish to support the theme of the symposium, that is recognition of the Creator, the pathway to peace. We all know that our world is habitated by people of different races, different faith, different nationalities, different cultures. These differences have been, many times, a source of conflict and even wars. These differences have many times been a basis of discrimination and even hatred. Unfortunately, even our differences in terms of faith have at times been a source of discrimination, of conflicts, of hatred, and of fighting. It doesn't have to be this way, and it shouldn't be this way. Ahmadiyya is a very good example of the faith that promotes peace, harmony, togetherness, and solidarity across faiths, cultures, races, and nationalities. This symposium is yet another example of the laudable effort of the Ahmadiyya of reminding all of us that we should learn to live in harmony, in peace, even as we pursue our different faiths, even as we respect our different cultures, our different nationalities. But this should not be a source of conflict and tension within the society. Indeed, recognizing our Creator should also be the pathway to peace. In Tanzania, we have lived in harmony and peace since we gained independence, precisely because people of different faiths have tried to learn to look at our Creator as a pathway for peace, as a pathway for harmony. To be honest, we have very good example from the Ahmadiyya community in Tanzania. people of peace, people of faith, and one of the most important group in our country that champion and promote peace in our country, Tanzania. And I want to thank the leadership of Ahmadiyya in Tanzania also, and they have history also of championing independence of Tanzania in peaceful manner through Amri Abeid, who was our leader. He was Ahmadiyya, and he put his effort in trying to organize campaign for Tanzanian independence, and we did that in a peaceful way. And therefore, today it's my pleasure to wish all of you participants in this symposium a very productive symposium, and I hope next time you organize this symposium, you'll choose Tanzania to be the host of you. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, of course. I believe that will be thrown to the MT Africa Director, Mr. Umar Safi, to honor that request of our Minister of Education from Tanzania to take up that peace symposium, because I know MT Africa has been organizing peace symposiums across Africa. So Mr. Umar Safi, it's over to you now. Thank you very much. We now reach the climax, and I believe you all see one particular thing that runs across almost all the speakers who seems to have the knowledge of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. And we pride ourselves that this is not by anyone's doing, but indeed the leadership of His Holiness. And we are so blessed that he considers himself as also an African, living in Ghana for about 8 years, and a lot of the work that he did there. So Africa indeed is not left out. He has been kind enough, His Holiness has been kind enough to send us a special address which will be read by the President of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community here in the United Kingdom. But before that, the keynote address will be delivered by the President of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community here in the United Kingdom, who actually is also an African by birth. Mr. Rafiq Hayat was born in Kenya and has a deep connection to Africa that complements his leadership as the national president of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, United Kingdom, an office he has held for over 2 decades after successive tenures as the national president of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association and the Ahmadiyya Muslim Elders Association. Under his leadership, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Communities United Kingdom has expanded its peace initiatives and charitable activities. He has overseen the development of community mosques across the United Kingdom, including this very landmark, beautiful Beautiful 2 mosques that we have this very gathering today. He actively engaged in interfaith discussions, advocating for religious freedom, combating Islamophobia, and fostering community cohesion. Guided by the motto, love for all, hatred for none, Mr. Rafiq Hayat has strengthened the community's standing with British society through initiatives that bridge culture and faith divides. We are truly honored to have Mr. Rafiq Hayat, our Kenyan brother, to address us as our keynote speaker today. Mr. Rafiq Hayat.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Your Excellencies, esteemed speakers and guests, and ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. I've had the honor to attend all of the peace conferences organized by the Pan-African Association. And I have to say, by the grace of God, that each year I see more and more people coming here to listen to this message of peace, which is so important in the current society that we live in. So, as you've heard from various speakers, the topic today is the recognition of our Creator, the pathway to peace. In Islam, Allah the Almighty has defined the key to mankind's success in complete submission to His will. In the Holy Quran, Allah states, and who believe in that which has been revealed to thee, and that which has been revealed before thee, and they have firm faith in the hereafter. It is they who follow the guidance from their Lord, and it is they who shall prosper. So the word clearly states that a successful person is the one who has faith in his Creator and has righteousness. And this means that a person should remember God when performing every single action throughout the day. The founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, peace be upon him, the promised reformer of the time, explained this matter when noting the key objectives of his advent. He said, "The task with which God Almighty has appointed me is that I should remove the malaise that has formed between God and his Creator and restore the relationship of love and sincerity between them." So here the question arises, what is the purpose of our life? The purpose of our life is not so that we are extremely successful, we earn a lot of money, have big houses, big cars, have holidays. If that was the purpose of our life, it would be a very shallow life that would lead. So there has to be a higher purpose. And the higher purpose is that we supplicate and develop a relationship with our Creator. And only when we are able to supplicate and create this relationship with our Creator will we ever achieve inner peace that we all want. No amount of money, no amount of funds can possibly give us that peace that we're all seeking. So the question is, how do we actually achieve this peace? Now, before I go and tell you how we achieve this peace, we've all heard of Alexander the Great. And when Alexander the Great was about to die, he called one of his senior ministers and said to them, "Will you please do me a favor? When I die, please leave my hands outside my coffin." And the minister said, "Oh, great king, you have conquered lands, you have enormous wealth, you have so much that you have achieved in your life. So why is it that you want to be buried in this way? And why is it that you want your hands left outside your coffin?" And he said that, "I want the world to know that I came into this world with nothing and I'm leaving this world with nothing. And that is the bottom line. And we must never forget that. The only thing that we return with is our good deeds that we take with us, our piety, our integrity, our honesty, and our help to our fellow human beings. That is the only thing we take with us when we return to our Creator." So it's a very important lesson to learn. And I think this is the key of our theme today. So the promised reformer specified that to achieve spiritual progress, there are three principal stages to our spiritual development. The first stage is called Nafs-e Amara. This is a very basic stage of morality where we can function. We get up in the morning, we go to work, we do all of the things that we do in a normal life. And to some degree, people can survive in this state all their life and return to their Creator without having achieved any spiritual development at all. But in order to progress spiritually, we then have to go on to our next stage of spiritual development called Nafse Lawama. This is the reproving self-state. And this is where we start to question what is right and wrong. And we start looking at every action that we take, and we decide, is this the right thing or is this the wrong thing? And we decide that if I say something, am I going to hurt somebody or am I going to please them? And when we start thinking in those terms, every action that we take, and we assess it before we take it, then you have entered this stage of Nafs al-Lawama. And the ultimate stage is to be in total unison with your Creator and be at total internal peace. And that in Islam is known as Nafs Mutmainnah. And that is the ultimate stage that we need to receive. Now the thing is, let us look today, in the short time that we have, at things that take us towards God Almighty and that stage of Nafs Mutmainnah. And let us also look at those things that take us away from this condition. So, some people, in the pursuit of high moral qualities, begin to act superior towards others and forget that true morality comes from humility. Society has forgotten empathy and selfless acts of kindness. Because of this, there's growing restlessness, fear, premonition, and the lack of trust in the future. As Muslims, we are warned of such a time, and Allah the Almighty states in the Holy Quran, we bring to witness that age when a man as a whole would be in state of loss, except for those few who believe and do good deeds and exhort others with the truth to accept truth and admonish others with patience to be patient. From this verse, the Holy Quran, we're told that the true peace and happiness will only be bestowed upon those who strive towards good deeds and keep connection with their Creator. Allah has placed great emphasis in the Holy Quran on Hukukul Ibad. This is the rights of the Creator. Hukukul Ibad, the rights of the creation. Along with Hukukul Allah, the rights belonging to God Almighty. And the promised reformer has said the main commandments of the Holy Quran are only two. Number one is the unity of God and the love and obedience to the Almighty Creator, who possesses the greatest attributes. And two, kindness towards one's brothers and mankind. And he further states that the second purpose of his advent is that for the sake of God's people and out of compassion, all people should engage their strengths and capabilities in the service and well-wishing of God's people. And they must treat gratefully and beneficially all people, from kings and emperors down to ordinary persons who has done them a favor. So on the social media, we see videos of people giving food to homeless. However, by filming the moment and pushing the camera in people's face, this good deed essentially robs the individual of their dignity. True selfless acts of kindness should be done without any desire for worldly acknowledgement or award. There's a little story that I'll share with you which perfectly defines how such an act should take place towards others. There was once a man who went to the market to buy some fruit. He approached the shop and saw some fruit he liked, and he asked the owner how much. He said 40 dirhams, replied the shopkeeper. The man paid his 40 dirhams and stepped to one side. Behind him, a woman approached. Her clothes were torn and her shoes were broken, and she had 3 children with her. She also selected the same fruit and asked the shopkeeper, "How much?" 5 dirhams, replied the shopkeeper. She took money out of her pocket and paid and left. The first man was furious. He stormed up to the shopkeeper and said, "You sold her the same fruit when you charged me 40 dirhams and charged her only 5 dirhams. The shopkeeper listened with patience and said, "The woman that came into the shop is very poor. I've offered to give her fruit and vegetables free of charge, but she does not want to accept it without paying. So I charge her a smaller fee so that she does not feel as though she has accepted charity." So this is the true essence. And this story actually captures how people that you want to help should be treated with respect and honor, even when you're trying to help them. Now, whilst charity is essentially a cornerstone of all religions, due to the rise of social media, we are seeing an age of individualism, which fuels a me-first attitude and makes it difficult for people to recognize the struggles of those who are less fortunate or embrace self-sacrifice for the collective good. Another concern is the lack of cooperation. We're already seeing that our polarized political systems, where people and parties with opposing views are unable to work together to solve problems. Many believe that this is what is potentially leaving our world to a pre-World War state, and we barrel towards World War III. This individualism is stirred by a number of factors, and one of the most prevalent trends to corrupt society today is materialism. Many are ignorant of the consequences of material access. It is associated with lower levels of well-being, such as the lack of social interaction and more environmental waste and destruction, and poor academic outcome. It also is associated with more problems and debt. A recent study by Baylor University found that individuals who are more materialistic have lower levels of life satisfaction and are more likely to be depressed. And the study also revealed that the rates of teenage depression began to rise in 2012 when young children began accessing social media more frequently. In turn, it has radically transformed the nature of peer relationship, family relationship, and daily activities. This is because materialism is largely driven by excess use of social media platforms like Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook, which heavily influences users to aspire to unattainable standards of beauty and wealth. Many young people preach about the positive use of social media, and yes, there are many instances where positive communities can find a mutual space to share like-minded views. We've seen this recently through the conflicts of Gaza, Ukraine. The world has used these platforms to stand up against the atrocities being carried out against innocent civilians. We see, whereas sometimes the media that's controlled by interested parties do not truly give us the right picture, but through the social media platforms, we're able to see some of the atrocities, some of the death and destruction that is taking place in the interest of expansionism. And it is with great sadness that I say that some of our leaders, particularly in the West, have turned a blind eye to death and destruction that is taking place. And they are the ones who will be answerable for what is going on in these areas. And we, as individuals, sometimes feel totally helpless and feel that there's nothing we can do. But we must be aware that there is something we can do. Each and every one of us has a voice. It may be a voice that is only to a small community, but we must raise our voice against these atrocities. And we must say this is not acceptable, because one day when your children will ask, what did you do when genocide was taking place? Did you just sit quietly and do nothing? Then you will be answerable to your future generations for that. And therefore I appeal to everyone who is here, speak out in any way you can. Some of you are social media experts. Nowadays, one of the great things is that you don't have to be on the television to be able to put forward your views. Social media has the power and the ability to reach the four corners of the earth. Use it. Make your voice heard throughout the world. Now, social media, whilst it's, as I mentioned, has got some very positive attributes. However, we must be careful because it also has a lot of dangers, especially for our future generations, especially for the children. A lot of research has taken place, and now the scientists are coming to the understanding that overexposure to media of any type, screen time, if they say that if you spend more than 6 hours a day in front of a screen, then you are considered as an addict. And particularly in young children, they say that it rewires their brains and they then have a short attention span. And this, I'm sure that all of you who have children may have experienced something of that in your own homes. Whereas children previously used to love to go and play outside, they talked, they constantly couldn't stop them from talking. But the children who put in front of TVs now by the parents as surrogate parenting, those children now are growing up with short attention spans and sometimes lack the ability to have proper conversation. And can you imagine those children becoming parents? What type of children will they be bringing up? And these are the dangers that have been recognized by some of the creators of these social media platforms. Bill Gates, one of the most influential tech leaders in the world, stated he limited how much technology his children could use at home. In 2007, Gates implemented a cap on screen time when his daughter started developing an unhealthy attachment to video games. He also didn't let his kids get mobile phones until they turned 14. Snapchat CEO Evan Spiegel confirmed in an interview with the Financial Times that he and his wife only granted an hour and a half screen times per week to their kids. During the interview, Spiegel also advised parents to cut down on their own screen time or explain what they're doing with their devices so the kids aren't looking at the back of black phones with no idea of what's going on. So whilst we are addressing the children and saying they should not spend more time, we ourselves have to also think about this. We cannot live without a phone. We get anxiety when we put our phone away for a few minutes. At night, you want the phone right next to your bed, so then even in the middle of the night, people get up and want to look at what messages they've received. Now, with the new ways phones are being used by our children, they need acknowledgement every time they do something. They send out a message, they want acknowledgement, and if they don't get acknowledgement, they get anxiety because they feel that they should have thumbs up all the time. So this social media is controlling our lives to such a degree that it is taking us away from the purpose of our creation. So if you are spending that much time with that, what time do you have to create your relationship with your Creator? In Muslims, we pray 5 times a day. Are we doing that, or are we just putting our phone down for a few seconds and going and pretending to go through the action? But in order to develop that relationship with your Creator, you have to give from your heart. You have to create that relationship. So we must look at technology and see how it is impacting upon us. Of course, now we are going into the AI technology, which is going to have even bigger dangers for our children, because we're going to live in a world where we'll not be able to tell between reality, what is true and what is false. Because the AI technology is so powerful that it can do anything. It can make people say things that they've never said. So if a person is presented with an image of me, let's say, saying something which is totally against anything I've ever said, but they see it, how do they know it's not correct? How do they decide that what is true and what's not? So these are the dangers that we are going to face in the future, even more with technology, and it's going to take us even further away from our Creator. In a report published by BBC, the Centre for AI Safety website suggests several possible disaster scenarios when it comes to society's overdependence on the AI technology. AIs could be weaponized. For example, drug discovery tools could be used to build chemical weapons. AI-generated misinformation could destabilize society and undermine collective decision-making. The power of AI could become increasingly concentrated in fewer and fewer hands, enabling regimes to enforce narrow values throughout persuasive surveillance and oppressive censorship. Enfeeblement, when human beings depend on AI to the point where people become physically unable to do anything without it. These may seem far-fetched. However, we are slowly watching people become heavily dependent on technology. Many sit for hours on end in front of screens, watching videos, playing games, and forget everything else around them. This dependency takes us from our responsibilities to one another and distracts us from creating our relationship with our Creator. The current international head of our community, His Holiness Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, further elaborated on how to avoid the negative traits of internet by taking advantage of the material that can benefit us. And during meeting with the youth of the community, His Holiness stated, if you know the negative usage of social media, then you should avoid the usage. It is a matter of temptation. A person is easily tempted, whereby they open a link and they become interested and then open another link and another and so forth. the user does not think of negative impact it's having upon them. So the first time that you see something on social media that you potentially have negative impact on you or others, immediately shut it down. Instead, visit those sites which increase your knowledge. For example, watch scientific or educational programs and documentaries and read comments and articles by scientists and academics. You see, the thing is that it is very easy to go into those sites. We know that now there's so much bad stuff out in the media, pornography and what have you. They become attraction to a young mind which has no experience of such things. And that, again, damages their mind from a very early age. And we must make sure, as a society, that we deal with this and we do not allow that to do harm to our children. Another aspect that contributes to the me-centric society is that it's moved away from traditional values that inculcate family and particularly respect for elders. This is a very important thing. The sad truth today is that society deems parents as a burden. It has already begun to happen. In a report published in an Independent in 2019, it was confirmed that an American man took his frail father, who was suffering from dementia, on a flight from Los Angeles to the UK, where the father was left at a bus station in Hereford with no way of anyone being able to trace his family, all to avoid paying for his care. In America, this has become more common phenomenon and has even been given a title, granny dumping. As strange as this might sound, it is estimated that over 100,000 elderly Americans are abandoned every year by relatives who are unwilling or unable to look after them. I appreciate that we are facing economic crisis. However, Islam teaches us that we should never abandon our responsibilities to our parents. If you are able to provide for if you're unable to provide for your parents financially, you can give them your time, cook for them, provide care for them, because they did that when you were young. There's a very good story that captures this, how God the Almighty looks at the care of looking after your parents. So it's reported that Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, asked God, "O Allah, who will be my companion in paradise?" So Allah revealed to him that a butcher will be a companion in paradise, his companion in paradise. So Prophet Moses was shocked and intrigued, and he wanted to find out what was so special about this butcher. So Allah directed him to a shop in the market. He went there and found a young butcher working and serving his customers. Prophet Moses stayed with the butcher until the end of the day, and the butcher closed his shop, put some meat in a small bag, and then began to walk home. Prophet Moses asked the butcher if he might accompany him, and the butcher agreed. The butcher arrived home. Laying on the bed in the home, Moses saw that there was an elderly, disabled woman. The butcher went to the kitchen and put the meat to cook. And while the meat was cooking, he washed the old woman's face, changed her clothes, and combed her hair. He then bought the food that he'd cooked and fed it to this woman with his own hands until she was full. And the butcher then lifted the woman back onto her bed. As he did so, she whispered something into his ear, whereupon the man began to smile. And Prophet Moses asked the man, "Who is this woman? What did she say to you that made you smile?" And the butcher said, This woman is my mother. Whenever I do something for her, she says to me, my son, may Allah never cause your effort to pass unrewarded, and He make you the companion of Moses, the son of Imran, in paradise. So you see how much importance God gives to this, that one of His own prophets, He showed him the importance of taking care of elderly. But this is something that we seem as a society to be moving away from. Of course, time does not permit me to elaborate on some of the other aspects, but many experts have spoken about the state of the world and the effect of global warming on natural life, the mass production of clothing that may even be single-use clothing, and of designer items that have been heavily glamorized on the platforms. However, this access is greatly affecting our environment. Not only are the factories forcing workers to mass produce these items for little pay and poor working conditions, but our natural resources are being depleted as a result. Many species of animals have become extinct because of the world greed. We are already seeing what mankind's dependence on technology is doing to the planet. An article on earth.com states that the smartphone has become an essential tool for navigating everyday life, but it contains some rare element on the earth to make it work. Because of this, many countries are forcing miners to work extreme hours digging in search for this material. And the workers are poorly mistreated, and many die in the pursuit of these natural resources. In China, we find a huge dumping ground for the toxic waste created from these sort of mining operations called World Tech Waste Lake. In Sudan, we've seen a civil war break out because of the greed for natural materials that contributed to making these smartphones. The greed and destruction go against the teaching of Islam. Our faith teaches us to live within our means and value that we have been provided. It's been narrated in many accounts that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, would repair his own shoes, sew his own clothes, live with simple means. He went above and beyond to help others. He taught us that simple actions can leave a long and lasting impact on the world. I'm pleased to say that the Ahmadiyya Muslim community has been heavily involved in various environmental schemes, including planting trees. As an agriculturist himself, His Holiness has encouraged environmental friendly schemes, including planting hundreds of trees across the world. However, sadly, we're seeing the world is neglecting the signs of global warming. Instead, many world leaders are lost in the pursuit of power, which is slowly pushing us into a world war. We see countries ravage either for political gain or for natural resources. In a world that has grown more dangerous in recent years, the nightmare scenario of the Third World War is in the public consciousness now. The UK Defence Minister, Grant Snapps, warned the world could be engulfed by wars involving China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran in the next 5 years, and said we are moving from a post-war to a pre-war world. In his recent address, His Holiness spoke about how the war can quickly expand and stated, history teaches us that internal conflicts can spiral into religious wars, often fueled by interference and influence of external powers who foment instability and division in other countries to serve their interest. In recent decades, we have witnessed the devastating consequences of such interference in countries such like Kuwait, Iraq, Syria, and Sudan. Since being elected Khalifa, His Holiness has held worldwide campaigns to convey the peaceful message of Islam. Indeed, at this very platform here, each year we hold a peace conference where world leaders come and he gives his message of peace to those world leaders. His Holiness has also addressed various parliaments you saw in the earlier video. He's addressed the UK Parliament, European Parliament, the Congress, and various other parliaments around the world, and has written to the majority of the world leaders, urging them towards a peaceful world, not one with recriminations. During a recent address to the youth of the community, His Holiness spoke about the importance of our connection to Allah to ensure peace in this world, and he states, "In this age, we are not only witnessing a rapid decline in the worship of God and growing apathy towards religion, but also a chilling indifference to the suffering of God's creation. Where help is extended to those in need, it is often driven by ulterior motives and a desire to fulfill vested interests under guise of humanity. Help often is conditional, and compassion is a commodity bartered for political and economic gain. As a result, an ever-rising chorus of voices are now openly denouncing the major powers and world institutions to be guilty of glaring double standards. The Holy Prophet of Islam, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, spoke about the importance of our relationship with our Creator in his final sermon. And he reminded Muslims that we will be held accountable for our actions. And he said, remember, one day you will appear before God and answer for your deeds. So be aware, do not stray from the path of righteousness after I am gone. As a community, it is our aim to serve humanity, to fulfill our duties to one another and ultimately to our Creator. During his address at the inaugural ceremony of Nasser Hospital in Guatemala, which was funded by the community and Humanity First, built by Humanity First, His Holiness spoke about the significance of charity within Islam and stated, we seek no praise, no reward for such efforts because we are merely doing what our religion has taught us to do. Our motivation and our desires to serve others is driven entirely by the teaching of Islam. The guiding light for any true Muslim is the Holy Quran, which was revealed to Islam's founder, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Time and again, the Holy Quran has instructed Muslims to serve mankind and fulfill the needs of those who are suffering or are deprived in any way. It requires Muslims to be selfless and consumed by the love of others. It requires us to be ever ready to make sacrifices for the sake of peace and well-being of other people. Let us pray that we can achieve this peace in our world, as it's important for our future generations to grow up in a world filled with hope and prosperity rather than fear and division. Thank you very much. God bless you all. We are very fortunate that His Holiness also sent a message for this particular symposium, and I would like to read it out. It says, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. I'm extremely pleased that with the grace of Allah, the Pan-African Muslim Association UK is once again holding a peace symposium. I pray that the event is successful in all respects and extend my best wishes to all participants. We live in an era of grave uncertainty, and inequality and injustice has taken root globally. As such, it is critical need of the hour that mankind focuses on its effort upon ensuring peace and stability in the world. Therefore, at every opportunity and upon every platform available to us, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community is dedicated to promoting peace and seek to bring people from all walks of life together in order to foster unity and understanding. Indeed, this has always been our objective because the founder of our community, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian, peace be upon him, repeatedly stressed the paramount importance of fulfilling the rights of our fellow human beings and to manifest love, grace, and compassion towards one another. In fact, he stated that he had been sent by Allah the Almighty with two overarching objectives. Firstly, to draw mankind closer to the Creator, and secondly, to urge all people to fulfill the rights of God's creation. He stated that instead of seeking to usurp the rights of others, human beings, irrespective of their differences, should live in peace and endeavor to cultivate a society based on love, respect, and tolerance. As mentioned, we are passing through an extreme, turbulent, and dangerous time, which wars and conflicts are intensifying with each passing day. Scores of innocent people, including defenseless women and children, are being mercilessly targeted in various parts of the world, with hospitals being bombed, schools attacked, families torn apart. Nations are becoming increasingly divided as hatred and intolerance against immigrants and minorities is being fueled by those who exploit fear and deliberately sow discord. Moreover, at an international level, the world is becoming more and more polarized and opposing blocs are formed. Rather, they have been guided and directed by justice and fairness. It is these self-serving alliances that are shaping the foreign policies of nations and driving humanity towards destruction. Not only is there a threat of grave economic consequences for nations, but far beyond that, there is rapidly growing risk of another world war igniting. Such warfare will leave an indelible strain of brutality and inhumanity on history and lead to decades of misery, trauma, and despair. Moreover, if God forbid nuclear weapons are utilized, the scale of the destruction that will ensue is beyond all comprehension. Not only will countless lives be lost in the immediate aftermath, but due to the lasting effect of radiation, children will be born for generations to come with birth defects, disabilities, genetic disorders, and other dangerous diseases. Thus, instead of looking back at their forefathers with pride and affection, those who follow us will be filled with the rage and hatred for those who come before them. In the face of these global threats, it is necessary that the people of Africa, including its diaspora, realize the true value and recognition that the immense role they can play in the future of the world. Whilst the eyes of the rich and the powerful, Africa is deemed as weak and powerless, I consider Africa to be a great continent that has the potential to lead the world, so long as its people are united. Accordingly, all Africans, irrespective of their national, tribal, or religious differences, must strive to unite. Furthermore, the people of Africa must free themselves from all forms of deception, corruption, or dishonesty, and be prepared to work hard to make and sacrifice for their nations. Your nations must focus upon raising their educational standards, especially of their youth, so the African people can rise up through the enduring power of education and knowledge. If God forbid the world war occurs, it's likely to engulf much of the world, including dominant powers of the Western world. At such a time, other nations will have to step into the void of the leadership and seek to rebuild the world and to guide mankind back towards peace and prosperity. It is possible, and indeed I hope, that African nations shall be spared from the worst consequences of such a warfare. Therefore, as a continent, your nation must ready themselves for a future in which Africa can lead and guide the world. For this, you must, as I've already said, be committed to ending all forms of corruption and striving to raise the standards of your people in all respects. May it be the African people recognize the importance of spiritual and moral reforming and better themselves for the sake of the development of their continent and wider world. If you all understand your potential and objectives and strive earnestly towards fulfilling them, I have no doubt that Africa will prosper. Inshallah, certainly it is my sincere prayer that Allah the Almighty grants African people the ability and the quality required to lead and guide the world in the future. At the end, I pray that Allah the Almighty enables all African nations and their people to continue progress and develop, and may your nation become a beacon of upholding the principles of justice, truth, and integrity. Above all, may your nations and people be those who truly fulfill the rights of God and His creation. Ameen. Yours sincerely, Mirza Masroor Ahmed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I guess after that very wonderful message that we received from His Holiness, we will have to bring the proceedings to a close. And we will request Mr. Rafiq Hayat, our keynote speaker, and also the president of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, to lead us in a silent prayer to bring the formal proceedings to the end, but it begins another chapter of the dinner. We do that by raising our hands, and then those of you who want to join us, feel free to do in your own way. Mr. President, if you can lead us in a silent prayer.
Will you join me in silent prayer, please? Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.